I'm Alex.
I'm Warren.
And I'm Kirby.
And this is the Real Gamerscore podcast. We are your source for Xbox achievement news, Gamerscore tips, and gushing about how Tiny Tina is awesome and just how awesome she is. Guys, she's awesome. This week we talk about rebranding under the Forza umbrella, not being a foxy hound, and did you know we have no loot boxes? But first, here's the song of the week.
Party came and then they caught me red-handed, boosting with the gamer next door. Picture this, we were both popping Chivo, speed running Halo 4. How could I forget that I had another session starting at 3? All this time they were listening to every little word from me.
That's really good.
Yeah.
What is that? It Wasn't Me by Shaggy?
Yeah. That's good. Thank you to Radulus Reg for that.
Radulus Reg.
Yeah.
Right.
He's a good patron of ours. No, but he had a good job. I had to tweak a couple of things. But
yeah.
Did he suggest the song, or did he also wrote the words?
He wrote the majority of it. I had a couple of little tweaks, but it was pretty much 95% him. So it was good.
Wow.
If it wasn't good, I wouldn't have used it.
Well, thank you, Shadowless Edge,
Yeah.
aka Radoless Hedge, aka Dantone Indicate. Alright. If you wanted to come and join our conversation in our Discord, you can do so by going to discord.io/realgamerscore. We're always in there having a chat. Every few episodes we remind people what Discord is. Discord is like a chat app that you can get on your PC, or you can also get the mobile version on your cell phone. You can talk to us in our server, where we're talking all things gaming, and we talk about some really like off on a tangent type things at times as well. But like I said on previous episodes, when I started listening to podcasts, I had no idea what Discord was. So you can get Discords for pretty much everything, but make sure you join ours first. That link again is discord.io/realgamerscore. If you would also consider supporting the show financially, you can do so at patreon.com/realgamerscore. You can check out the tiers in there and commit at whatever level you feel comfortable with. Any type of commitment from the patrons is always appreciated by us. We've also got our random to-do list contest, so maybe this episode also serves as a good reminder for how to get into the random to-do list and what it is. So it's a list of 25, not 20, like I said previously, 25 achievements that you get on the first of every month. They're picked from your locked achievements that is governed by your gaming collection on True Achievements. So we'll pick some easy ones, some hard ones, and some rather hard ones? I don't know. Harder.
we missed the medium pile. We just went straight to hard.
Yeah, pick some easy, hard, and really hard. And you get a list of 25 of them, obviously in varying difficulty, and you can play for yourself, or you can play to go up against other people. Now, people can send you a direct message or send a direct message to the random to-do list account on True Achievements.
Correct.
To get joined into that.
Yeah.
So you can do that pretty much any time of the month, maybe not on the last day of the month because then you just roll over again, but you can get a list every month. Can you tell everyone what the random to-do list contest is for this month?
Sure. So our prize for this month is the game Flutter Bombs. It's a twin-stick shooter where you are a butterfly and you kill insects and stuff. But the contest is that you need to earn at least one single achievement in the random to-do list, and you need to answer a trivia question of another game with the word bomb in it. You can send that answer to the random to-do list account on True Achievements. It's easier to send it there because I may lose track of it if you send it to me personally, because I have a ton of messages from a bunch of things, so I may just lose it in the pile. So better to send it to the random to-do list account.
And are we accepting... We're not accepting Bomberman?
Yeah, don't do Bomberman. There's plenty of others you can search up. You can literally just type in bomb in the TA search and it'll come up with every other game with the word bomb in it, but don't use Bomberman, that's a cop-out. Too easy.
Okay, so we'll draw that some point early in May, maybe.
Yeah, either the first or second episode, depending on how soon it is. If it's in the first couple of days of May, we won't bother just because we'll give people more time to get an entry in the at least in the trivia question. You're too late to get
It'll be on the 7th of May.
Okay, yep, so we'll probably draw that then.
We'll draw it then. Okay, alright, so I've been away this week camping, so you guys have looked at all the news this week. Kirby, was that the first one from you?
Yeah, I just chucked all of these in because I thought this was a very funny story that I know Warren will appreciate. So Forza have the Turn 10, is it Turn 10 who quote unquote released this, or is it just under the Forza umbrella?
Oh no, it's got a Turn 10 logo when you load it.
Awesome. Yep, so Turn 10 have released the mobile game that they've had in production for a while, of course, that they've had done everything for Forza Street, which is totally not just Miami Street, a game that was sort of silently released in a couple countries last year with a rebranded name and is actually that exactly. So yeah, so Miami Street I think it's had silent launch in either Turkey or the Netherlands, because it was one of the two, because I know the other country had Asphalt 9 had a silent release there. But it's an on-rails racer, so you enter a race with your car. I believe you hold down the mouse button to accelerate and you let go to brake, and there's sort of times when you should brake and when you should accelerate, and it's sort of like it's a very simplified racing game, and you hit your space bar to use your nitrous, and you either win or you don't. Like
it's actually gotten easier. There's now an auto race if your car is 20 or more PI better than the others. You don't even have to race. You click a button and you win, and you get your stuff and you move on.
Yeah, it does still have those it's a free to play game, so it has the free to play sort of mechanics of energy of some description, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't do all of the races immediately. Because you got to wait for your energy to rebuild. The typical free-to-play hooks, the long grind that you can accelerate by purchasing premium currency. I presume it's premium currency and not like a loot box type thing, but you then use the premium currency on... No?
Oh, okay, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you buy the premium currency, and then there's your garden variety of loot boxy things you can buy with it.
Yeah. It's not a direct money to... real money to loot box system. So I imagine it's impossible to complete in Belgium.
There is a direct real money to like speed ups stuff.
I
mean, you're at least told straight up what you're buying. But yeah, there's actually that as well if you want to go that route.
Yeah. But essentially, it's a really bad free to play game that now they've got under the Forza umbrella, and it's disappointing that that's where they went with it. Like, literally zero effort. They just bought the company that was making it or whatever and shoved it under their umbrella and rebranded it. It was, and if they'd done it with a good game, you could almost forgive it, but this really isn't. It's just,
I'd be ashamed to call this a Forza game. I mean, Apex was at least worthy of the Forza name. It was a good game. This is not anything recognizable as Forza.
Yeah. It is coming to iOS and Android, but I don't believe it will have achievements. I think progress will sync, though. So, I believe you won't pop achievements while you're playing the iOS, but when you launch it on your Windows 10 device, progress will sync, and anything you would have earned would pop then. I could be wrong because I don't think they've said definitively. I know they've definitively said no achievements for iOS and Android, but I don't know if there's definitely going to be a cross sync there. I'm fairly certain that's how it's going to work. Because it looks similar to Instant War, which had that same thing. Except Instant War was a one-time sync. But yeah. So that's a disappointment on the Forza. A blemish on the Forza, I don't know, trademark, branding. Yeah.
There you go. I guess they're trying to get that sweet loot box microtransaction money happening for their mobile games, for the casual gamers.
I'm sure it'll be fine on the go. I just feel like even the game itself is not something new. Like, I feel like I've played 4 or 5 different games that are basically the same thing and were out ages ago. Asphalt 9's probably, yeah, exactly. I mean, I've played similar games that were just drag races but had the exact same mechanics. Or if you had to launch perfectly, so you had to rev your engine in the green zone to get a good launch and gear up at the right time and everything. So it's an on-rails racing game. That's if you can picture what an on-rails racing, not on rails like Scale Extric, which was literally on rails, but it's
on rails like Rambo, yeah.
Figurative on rails, yeah. Think Time Crisis, but you're in a car.
How does that?
Because you're on rails, you.
I know, but I'm just trying to. Yeah, all right.
You shoot little cars out of your. Just you're shooting other cars at cars. That's how Time Crisis would work if you were a car. Moving on.
Yes.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order had its reveal trailer. Had a release date of insert date here. November 15th. Mm-hmm. That was the date we inserted there. And all its pre-order stuff has come out. There's a deluxe edition that you can pre-order, and it has a 10% discount at the moment, and is only $1 more expensive than the standard pre-order. So, okay, yeah, I would, if you were going to pre-order, I'd do the deluxe edition. The release trailer came out. It really didn't show much other than making it blatantly obvious it was a Star Wars game. Like, there was the Force, and there was your standout characters, maybe Stormtroopers at this point. I don't know. It takes place after Order 66, and you are taking the role of Cal Kestis, a member of the Jedi Order who survived Order 66, which was the order to kill all Jedis and all that stuff. And and adventures ensue as you're on the run. So yeah, excited for a Jedi game, Alex? I can tell you're excited.
No. I'm not ashamed to say Star Wars doesn't really interest me. The movies, the games, no thanks. The thing that I saw about this during the week, like I said, I haven't seen a whole lot because where I was had very limited reception.
Yep.
I think EA made a point of announcing that there's no microtransactions and no loot boxes to a game.
Yeah,
and it got me thinking about that. I was like, I think that that's a good thing, but I also think that marketing your game as, this doesn't have microtransactions, I don't know how I feel about that as marketing a game. It's like, it shouldn't have them.
Yeah, so, it's one of those things where you see it and it's supposed to just bring that instant sort of respectability. It was a technique that was used a while ago for games like Dauntless, which is coming out later for the Xbox One, but is currently, I think, in like a beta of some kind on the PC. Things like, where it said, we won't have loot boxes and we never will. And that, there were news stories being written about it because of the time we were in, where that was the thing. I mean, it's a little weird for EA to say this coming out, sort of. It feels like it's late to the party in saying, and also we won't have microtransactions or loot boxes, especially considering it's a single-player game, though there have been other single-player games that have had them, so fair enough. I guess you need to mention that. But yeah, it
just seems to me that it's odd that saying that is a selling point, and it doesn't sit all that well with me. I think it's good that it doesn't have them, but yeah. I find it hard to put into words why it doesn't sit well with me.
Well, maybe if I tell you why I think it's a good thing, maybe that'll help. If they're playing this off as though it's a good thing, as it's a feature, that means that there's enough people out there they think they can market this to, that they're appealing to. Yeah. So if there's that many of us that think that having no loot boxes in a game is a good thing, that means that hopefully this message reverberates through the game industry, and we see more and more of this as a commonplace thing. Games don't have loot boxes. Like, let's go back to the days of yore when we didn't have this over crazy monetization. I'd gladly spend an extra $10 per game if I didn't have to deal with all that.
Yeah, I think those days are gone planting, unfortunately. As much as I'd like to go and be with you in those days, I don't see them coming back. I think that there's enough people that have enough money, that spend enough money on these loot boxes, that I would be shocked if they're going away. I think the only way that they could go away is if many governments around the world passed legislation that made them illegal.
I mean,
but I don't think that's going to happen everywhere.
All you need is mobile games to come up with a better monetization scheme for these big companies to steal and put into their $60 games. Really. The
other thing that I was thinking about, that no loot boxes, no microtransactions, I wonder how much of a say Respawn had in it. Because Respawn, I don't know much about Apex, maybe you guys can fill in that blank, but I don't think there was really much in the way of, egregious type microtransactions and loot boxes in Titanfall 2. I don't think there definitely wasn't in Titanfall 1, and those games were fantastic.
There is an Apex, though.
Yeah, Apex. Yeah. I think Apex is a bit different because it is free to play. So that, they have to make money somehow.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But yeah, so whether it was we'll have them in this game, just let us not have them in our single-player game, please.
Yeah.
Please, dear
like
overlords.
I said, I wonder how much Respawn have pushed back to EA and said, we don't want them in this game. Don't put them in this game. I mean, I don't know what kind of power or leverage they have in that situation, but I wouldn't be surprised if EA couldn't help themselves and Respawn said, we're asking you respectfully as an organisation not to screw another Star Wars game and put microtransactions in it. I actually saw a little bit on Twitter through the week where people are like, I'm not going to buy this game as a protest against microtransactions. And someone was saying, well, actually, given that there's no microtransactions, that everyone should buy this game. Try and send a message to EA that, we don't want games that have microtransactions in them, and try and send them a message like that. But I don't have any figures on it, but my gut feeling is that the money that EA makes on microtransactions would far outweigh what they would make if more people bought the game.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't have any numbers to back that up, but from what I've heard about the game, it seems pretty positive. It seems like it's going to be a pretty good game, and who knows, down the track maybe I will end up playing the game. So,
God knows Disney's going to be happy with it.
Well, they're happy with everything, aren't they?
Wait, another game came out of Star Wars? Yay! Yeah, everyone put a Disney party on. Yeah, I don't know why they were European for whatever reason, but they were.
Well, at least I think if this game is successful, it'll go at least a little way back, getting some goodwill back with the gamers, because I know a lot of people were salty about, was it Star Wars 1313 that was coming out? That was actually looking really good. Yeah, and it got cancelled. I know a lot of people were really salty about that. Actually, alright, so this is kind of related to this.
Yep.
But I did see one thing on Twitter this week. It was related to Star Wars, not specifically this game, but it did catch my eye. So there's this guy on Twitter. He's a millionaire or something, or zillionaire, I don't know, whatever. But there's a picture of him in front of, I think it was a Ferrari or a Bugatti Veyron. I can't remember which car it was because I didn't pay a whole lot of attention. But it's one tweet in a thread of about 75 tweets, I don't know. And he's just going, look at me, I'm rich and I'm famous, and it's because I don't watch Star Wars. I'm not a nerd that lives in my basement. You're like, okay, fine, that's like one tweet. But then you start scrolling through, you realise it's a thread, and I would guess there's about 75 of them. I read quite a few of them because I'm like, nah, this guy's trolling. But he wasn't trolling. He was just going on and on about his pictures, like, look at me with all these women that I'm just regularly having with because I don't watch Star Wars. And I'm just like, what? He's like, I use... Mate, I don't know. But he goes, I tried to pick up a woman and all I said to her was, I don't watch Star Wars, and next thing I knew, she was at my house. I'm just like, what? Anyway, I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, she was at his house with the box set of all 6 episodes.
I don't know. It was weird. I'll see if I can find it. I'll post it somewhere. But oh man, it made me laugh so much. Anyway.
Okay, Warren, you were going to say something before Alex ranted for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if I could
Twitter
remember what
story
I was going to say
got my tongue.
I'll see if I can find it when we're in the break, and I'll show it to you guys. It's absolute gold.
So,
someone tweeted it to Mark Hamill. That's,
yeah.
I think how I caught wind of it. Okay. All right, we should move on. That's enough of a tangent for now.
So, Borderlands 3 news. We've got confirmation from Randy Pitchford that Ashley Birch is returning as Tiny Tina. So the voice of Tiny Tina from Borderlands 2 is returning. Was she in Borderlands 3 as well? Cameo? Or, pre-sequel? Did she have any cameo?
I don't remember her being in there.
I haven't played it, so
I don't think she was.
Okay. Yep, just Borderlands 2. Making a reappearance in the third Borderlands. I guess this was kind of newsworthy just because Borderlands is this hot topic at the moment. You are definitely someone that loves Tiny Tina.
I will go on record and say Tiny Tina is possibly the single best thing about the Borderlands universe. There is probably nothing in Borderlands I like more than Tiny Tina. She's a straight up gangster.
Yeah.
And also, when I was at PAX 2017, there was someone dressed up as Tiny Tina. It was awesome.
Yeah. Warren, are you wrong as well, or?
Am I wrong as well? No, I was going to say that Athena is by far the best part of Borderlands.
Okay. I don't know if that's right, but it's definitely not wrong, at least. No, I don't have a problem with Tiny Tina, but I just didn't particularly like her. Like, I'm neutral towards her. I nothing her. She was just an NPC in a game for me. Like it.
Have you played the DLC? Tiny Tina's Dragon Keep, I think it was called.
Not. I started it. I got the RNG achievement of the dice roll. I got that first try and then stopped. Not even. I wish I recorded it. I wish I recorded it. The first chest I found, I was like, "Oh, this is that dice roll thing." Oh, I got the achievement. Okay, I'm just gonna save and quit and come back to this later.
I didn't have any problems getting that, but first roll wasn't first roll. But
no, but yeah, I read that's a sign that I need to stop because that's all my luck right there. That's everything. So I'm gonna stop now. But no, the other thing, if we're done with Tiny Tina,
she's the best.
She's mediocre. Yep. Okay.
No,
the other thing is that Troy Baker is not coming back to play Reese.
Yes, that was disappointing when I read that.
Whether or not he's getting a different voice actor or whether he's not going to say anything because he's got tape over his mouth, I don't know. Well,
have they mentioned anything about the... I can't remember what the woman's name is in Tales from the Borderlands. Have they
Female
said anything about her?
No. Randy Pitchford did say, fortunately with how Reese appears in the game, I don't think it matters at all. You'll see for yourself when the game comes out. You may disagree with me on that or not. So essentially he said, I don't think it matters, but I might be wrong, so I'm covering all bases with this statement.
Well, if he talks and it's not the voice of Reese, yeah, it'll be quite jarring. I remember playing, I mentioned it at the time when I played Before the Storm, and it wasn't Chloe's voice. I mean, of course you didn't, mate. You don't like good games. You don't like Tiny Tina in Borderlands. You don't like
played
Life
it
is
in
Strange.
Spasmo.
I mean, yeah, probably.
Yeah,
well, that's good news.
Did play that. Yeah, but yeah, so Borderlands 3 coming along, at least. Something I learnt recently, and I feel kind of dumb that I didn't think of this. Like, it's just not something I thought of. I didn't realise that Gearbox is not a publicly traded company. It's all privately owned by Pitchford. So, like, he doesn't have shareholders to answer to or anything. He can just do whatever he wants. And that's why
a lot about him.
That's why he says a lot of dumb stuff on Twitter, because he's got no one to answer to, because he owns everything. Like, I mean, yes, 2K kind of in a sense because they're publishing the game, but like really, it's not like his company's going to lose value because he said dumb things to people. So that explains a lot of his behavior. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, before we dive too deep down that rabbit hole, do we like Age of Empires? Is that a thing I'm sure I played this with cheats back in the day.
I mean, I liked the online game back when that was a thing.
Whatever about it.
Yeah. Well, Age of Empires 2 was sort of revealed with Age of Empires 3 for the Windows 10, but it sort of fell under the radar. That's not the right saying. Swept under the rug. No one heard anything about it. It's got a rating by the ESRB. It has been rated teen because there's fights, I guess, and you can zoom in.
You can zoom into the fights?
Sorry, this is what I said. They talk about the gameplay, and then they say players can zoom in on military units while they use swords, bows, and cannons to eliminate enemy forces and structures. Battles are accompanied by weapon clashes, cries of pain, and explosions. Some battlefields depict impaled soldiers on spikes, and a handful of cutscenes depict images of soldiers impaled by arrows. One still image sequence shows a large bloodstain on the ground, along with a blood splatter on parchment. The word bastard is heard in the game.
Oh, we can't have that.
Yeah,
at least not for the teens, anyway.
I mean, but the point is, it's got a rating, so it's probably going to come out pretty soon. Or
was that for Windows 10 as well?
Not. Yeah, Windows 10. Though I see no reason why it couldn't come to the Xbox with keyboard and mouse support.
I don't know if they want to release a game that's requiring keyboard and mouse support yet.
Pure, yeah. Yeah, good point. But I think they were supposed to mention it on last month's Inside Xbox, and the running order has changed and it got excluded. So we'll probably... I don't know if... Yeah, this will probably be out before the Inside Xbox that's happening later today US time comes out. I mean, it's happening later today all time, but it's happening in the US. I don't know why I specifically mentioned that it was happening later in the US time, like it wasn't happening later in Australia. It's already happened here. We know it's being announced. We're just not allowed to tell you.
We're from the future.
Yeah. That's all right. Silly me. So yeah, hopefully that gets a release date soon, because I know the Age of Empires 3 was weird at the moment. We won't talk about that yet, ever. Weird DLC mishap. Yeah, good news for Age of Empire fans. Good news for everyone. I'm sure the achievements will be just as easy.
Sure.
Because I'm pretty sure you could still use cheats and it would be fine.
Yeah, I think I did that at Tarragon's house.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Why
not? And now the big news story. Big-ish. The biggest we have, other than Tiny Tina, who is pretty big deal. The diskless Xbox One S has leaked a European price and release date. I think it's also had a leak of a North American price point. So that price point, and I assume we will hear it being announced officially later today in the Inside Xbox show, but leaked for a May 7th release in Europe for €229, $250 US or $249.99, whatever. I assume a similar release date as well, which is a bad price. Apparently, it comes pre-installed with Minecraft, Forza Horizon 3, and Sea of Thieves.
That makes me laugh. 3? Why would it have Forza Horizon 3?
Yeah.
4's been out for...
Yep.
Ugh.
And then, okay, and I guess, it comes pre-installed. You must still have to use a code to redeem it on your account, though, because it being installed doesn't mean you can play it. That's not how Microsoft games work. That's not how Xbox games work.
What about Hexic on the 360? That was pre-installed. You didn't need a code for it?
Different with... different with 360 because the first console it was installed on had the license as well.
Yeah, but that was coming up on USB sticks,
so your game...
too. Hexic was on, like, the Microsoft memory units.
Okay. Yeah, so the first... Oh, okay, I don't know. I know the 360 worked slightly differently with licensing, where your tag had the license, and the original console it was purchased or installed on or whatever had the license. So anyone else could log onto that console, and it's similar to almost as if you'd set it as your home console. Anyone else could sign in and play the game, or you could play the game anywhere else on your tag, if your tag was signed in. But just without the whole home console hassle, I guess. So yeah, they're still gonna need to redeem something to attach it to their account.
It may just be a token of some sort.
I get... Yeah, it would just be something with it. It'll be easier, just a redeemable code, and it's already installed. But, like... Again, yeah, the games are weird. Sea of Thieves, yeah, sure. Minecraft, yeah. Forza Horizon 3 is the weird one. You're right.
But aren't all three of these games available in Game Pass? I mean, I know Minecraft,
which is funny
and Sea of
because,
Thieves
as I recall, it
Forza Horizon
comes
3.
with a Game Pass subscription.
Yeah.
Okay, that... Yeah, again, and you're going to have to redeem that on your account. Yeah, it's... And with the sort of leaked news of a Xbox Live Gold and Game Pass combination subscription, I can see it going well with this, but even then, that price point for that is ridiculous. I think it was $15 US a month, which is pretty much what a monthly subscription for Gold and Game Pass would cost. But, oh wait, no. Bad math. Yeah, like $5
if you paid
for
the monthly
Xbox Live Gold for a year.
monthly cost for it, yes.
Yeah. Because the monthly cost of Game Pass is $10, and a year of Xbox Live Gold is... Well, a year's $50, but monthly is $5 a month, isn't it?
10.
Something like that. 10 for Xbox Live
if
Gold.
If you buy it by the month, it's $9.99.
Oh. Okay. Yep, so it's the price of the year. Essentially, that's $60 for a year, $5 a month. But you pay on a monthly, per monthly... that per month basis. That's not a great deal. This is not a great deal. This is $250, and most Xbox One S's will retail for less than that. I'm pretty sure someone in the comments said Amazon has an Xbox One S for $180 with a disc drive. So, like, when you're being undersold by retailers with your original and technically superior console because it has that Blu-ray drive and can play games in an upscaled 4K, whereas I'm fairly certain I read that this discless version won't for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I could be wrong there, but I feel like that's something I saw in an article related to this stuff, it just seems like a weird decision from Microsoft.
I would have introduced this at no more than $199 US, which would put it about on par with the cheaper S variants you're seeing out there now from retailers. And then give it some room to move down. But yeah, putting it out there for $250 is just you're taking parts off of this and then trying to introduce it at a price point that's, give or take it, what its direct competitor is more or less offering right now. Yeah, it's odd decision.
I think I was expecting it to come at $199 as well. I mean, $250. I wonder if they're just going to bring it out, come Black Friday time. They'll go, okay, it's $199, and then it might change to $199 permanently. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's a weird move. I think most people thought $199. I mean, the reality is you're never going to stop people sulking about it, and everyone in the comments of this article is saying it's too much. But I mean, I don't know what they think when they make these things up. The other thing was, it's got a 1 terabyte hard drive. That wasn't really a surprise for me, but I thought maybe, something larger than a 1 terabyte would have been nice.
Yeah, imagine how much it would have cost if they went with something larger, though. If 1 terabyte they're trying to do at $250, 2 terabytes are easily pushing 300, 325 just because.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is it would you be just because you can buy an 8 terabyte external for under $200.
Yeah.
And that's what I think when I read all these articles going, all these comments on the article going, it's only got 1 terabyte. I mean, not everyone that plays games is like you, Chin, and needs 8 terabytes of storage, or you planting.
Yeah, I need another hard drive.
I never even got close to filling.
I need another hard
drive. I never even got close to filling my 500 gigabyte hard drive on my original Xbox. But, there are people out there like you guys that need more space, and there are options available for that. Like I have on my Xbox One X, I think it's either a 1 or 2 terabyte external. So I think my X has 1 terabyte, so I've got 3 terabytes in total. I've never come anywhere close to filling it. Actually, not even really sure why I bought it now that I think about it, but you have the option, and it's a very cheap option to get an extra hard drive. But having said that, if you're going to spend $200 on 8 terabyte, I mean, that's almost the cost of this whole console. Let me put it to you like this:
I would pay the $250 if this was a 1 terabyte M.2 drive.
Yeah.
What's an M.2 drive? What is it?
It's like a drive on a stick, basically. It's a form of flash memory, essentially. It's really, really fast read times.
Faster than your solid state.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fast. Jeez, that's fast. Okay.
Yeah, but for a traditional hard drive, $250, given the market around for just the standard 1S, it's silly. There was a silly price point to come in at, and I will not be surprised when it doesn't do well.
Well, at least they have the option to discount it to the expected $199.
Yeah.
If it doesn't go so well, I suppose.
Even then, even planning for like Black Friday and whatever, it's releasing in May. It's what, 6 months out from Black Friday? That's.
Why would you intentionally shoot yourself in the foot and limp to Black Friday when you can actually make some sales before you get there?
Yeah.
I think the thing that disappoints I can't even talk. The thing that disappoints me the most about this not being $199 is that I thought it coming at $199 would be a really good price for people to get into the Xbox ecosystem that don't want to, spend, I think it's still $450 US around there for an X. So it gives them an opportunity to get in with, still a reasonably powerful machine. It's got enough space on there, and to just get into that at $199, that's a price that your parents can afford when it's your birthday type of thing. unless you have super rich parents or something. But it's an affordable machine. But yeah, $250. I don't know that it's cheap enough to still satisfy that definition. At least not in my book.
No, I feel like the point of this was to bring more people into the ecosystem, and having it at this price doesn't. You take a bigger loss and get more people into the system so that there are more people entrenched, and then when your next generation comes out, they're more willing to go to that rather than to a competitor. This is almost having the opposite effect. It's, people are thinking, what, Microsoft don't know what they're on about. They're idiots, let's go somewhere else. Really. That's what I think.
Well, I guess we'll see what happens. If people have got enough money to spend on microtransactions, maybe they've got enough money to spend a little bit extra on an Xbox One S. I don't know. Alright. Well, if we're done with that, then we can throw over to the review. So, the two of you this week, you're reviewing the final season of The Walking Dead. We talked about this before the show. It's very long. This review is very long. Did you say it was 40, 45 minutes?
I think it's 40 to 45 if we use the version with spoilers. It'll either be like 25 minutes or 45 minutes, depending on if we have spoilers, and there will be a clear cut, and there'll be basically I'll say, if you want to, like, if we put the spoiler version in, we'll have a clear point where we say, if you want to avoid spoilers, go to this time in the podcast, and I'll have a time, and I'll have a bit of window before that time as well that I'll leave blank, so that you don't accidentally try to scrub over to it and end up in the spoiler territory.
Yeah. So yeah, be forewarned, it will be a lengthy review either way, and there may be spoilers.
It may be super long, or it might just be long. Well worth a listen though. It's
really hard to do anything Walking Dead without a humongous preface, and with this being the end of the whole series, we wanted to give it a good send off.
Yeah.
All right. Without further ado.
Yeah, without any further ado.
Enjoy this second segment of the show, the second act.
Hi, this is Melissa Hutchison, and you might know me as Clementine from Telltale Games The Walking Dead, and you are listening to
Real Gamerscore's Telltale's The Walking Dead, the final season, the review.
And hello and welcome to another review for Real Gamerscore. As always, I'm Planting42, and with me is my co-host, Chin himself.
How's it going, guys?
This week, we are taking a look at the final season of The Walking Dead. This was published and developed by Telltale Games, and then later by Skybound. The original episode came out August 14th, 2018, and the fourth episode, the one that everyone's probably just getting to now, came out March 26th, 2019. The price, at least in the US, is $19.99, and it's definitely a point-and-click adventure.
Yeah, still with its roots in that Telltale style.
Time estimates, unfortunately, since it's an episodic game, the numbers on TA are pointing toward that. But in reality, if you're looking at something between 2 to 3 hours an episode, you're talking 8 hours, give or take, with a guide, if you know exactly how to pull every achievement off on one playthrough, or probably closer to 15 if you just give it a good playthrough and mop up your unwon stuff afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds like a route I've had to go down, and I might need a couple more playthroughs through episodes, but I think sort of 2 to 3 hours for a completion of an episode seems about right. And there's only 4 of them this time, so...
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they're fairly long, it feels like, for a Telltale episode. There's definitely a lot of content in them, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess, like, the plot for this one, this is the end of Clem and AJ's story. It was set up as a huge deal. Fans expected a huge closure, and I would say we definitely did get a closure here. Game starts out... Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I'd harped on about it. I think this was a good ending, and I've said in the past when they had their issues with whether it would get published that it's probably better that it doesn't get out. But I think this satisfies everyone.
Yeah, I'm glad with this. I'm definitely glad they did finish it because it needed this ending.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, pretty much, back in episode 1, the game starts with Clem and AJ in a car on their own, surviving, kind of looking for a place to settle, hopeful as they were. They end up meeting a Walker couple, if you want to call it meeting, coming across, I guess, and that decided to sit out the end together. And I don't know, it struck me as kind of a romantic take to kind of start the game off, and I guess it actually sets the mood for the whole season, kind of looking back at it now. And it also sets up the location for at least a good chunk of the early parts of this the season.
Yeah, there was if you searched a bit more, you did find some reasoning behind their actions, but definitely sets the mood and for the entire series.
So as you play through it, your job is to shape the person AJ will be based off of the decisions you make and what you tell him to do. And unfortunately, it's nowhere near as easy as it sounds. The developers did an amazing job of making this somehow a crossover of both Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead. There's no easy decisions, and everything seems to go wrong. There's no good choices. If you haven't learned how to harden yourself to deal with the issues of a post-apocalyptic world yet, this season will do that.
Yeah. There were, because often the decisions have a timer tied to them, so that you need to make a decision quickly. I had to pause it on many occasions to think through what I was going to say or what decision I went to, because I was taking my playthrough seriously, and sometimes there were just 3 bad options and silence, and you kind of had to decide which was the lesser of the 3 evils that you were going to say. Like, it was...
I completely agree.
There were tough decisions throughout. Even minor stuff, you see, like, you immediately saw how it impacted things, and you almost... I regretted some of the things I said and chose, but stuck with it because that was my playthrough. But man, even though that's sort of, as Telltale games are, they're linear, this is really a very branching linear game.
Oh, agreed. And it's kind of interesting how they did this in a way that they're tied to the achievements, which we'll get to in a little bit later on. But so basically, previous Telltale games, you just kind of went through the story, and occasionally there was 1 or 2 random missables. This one definitely attaches the achievements to the gameplay and your decisions in a way that makes you have to experience it and feel it a little more. And I guess that kind of goes a little deeper too, is that if you think you had emotional attachments to the characters in the previous games, in the previous series, you absolutely have to play this one. The depth of character interaction and how good they did at storytelling in this game is amazing. The attachments you build for the people that Clem and AJ meet are strong, and they really help you shape your decisions as you go through this game.
Yeah, definitely. And then references to older characters, or at least the potential. So, there are many times where questions were asked of me, and I could talk about Lee, and I did in some of them. Lee being your guardian protector from the first season, and lots of things that humanized the character. Like they really felt like they were people, and not just weren't just playing a game. You were in this story that you were forging and shaping.
Oh, agreed. So I guess, to give a rough overview of the content of the episodes, this would be a spoiler-free introduction to what happens in the game. Episode 1 focuses on their integration into their new home and introduces you to the cast that makes up your group for that game. And also, as we said, it's kind of an introduction into a new format for Telltale storytelling, because you learn that there's a lot of different paths that you can take, and those paths have achievements tied to them, as well as. Some dialogue lines. So there's actually a little more impact than usual to the way the game played. And although you still get the feeling that there's some things that are kind of written in stone that are just the way the story has to flow, it does feel like they give you that additional layer of customization. Like you feel like you have a little more control in the game than I think previous Telltale games have given you.
Mm-hmm, definitely, yeah. There are a lot of decisions where it was clear that it was probably going to end up in that direction anyway, but, I still felt like I couldn't make the wrong decision or it wouldn't work or, wouldn't be accepted or whatever.
And I liked that. I liked the fact that there was really no wrong choice other than the ones that end up with you dead. So, I mean...
Doing nothing. Inactivity leaves you dead.
Many times that early.
Look away for a second, look back, I'm like, oh, this was a playable bit, and okay, let's just restart that section. Whoops.
Yeah, I did that a lot. Episode 2 kind of focused a lot more on the fortification of the school and helps you start to build a romantic relationship with one of two members. I don't know, I kind of thought of it as like a Life is Strange crossover moment because you've got a couple teenagers around, so hey, let's have some more reasons to tug at your emotions. And it's just kind of a good way to help build some more tension in the game.
Yeah, that was one of the weird things for me was I don't have a gauge of Clementine's age. AJ seems to be 6 or 7, maybe even a bit older than that. So it's at least that many years since the first game, since even the second game where she was a bit older. Like, I feel like she's way older than you would be as a person at a school. Like, at this boarding school that you're at. Like, I feel like she should be almost 20,
I mean, she certainly acts that. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if she's 8 to 10 years older than she was in Season 1, I mean, she was probably maybe 6 or 7 or something like that, maybe. I don't know, in Season 1. Okay. So, I mean, I kind of put her for like a 16, 15.
15, 16. Yeah. Okay. I can see that. I just, having not remembered sort of how long after this was after the first series this was, I was really bad at gauging her age. I'm like, this person you're talking to is like 14. Aren't you like 20, even though you don't look that... Yeah. It was... I mean, I roll with it. Suspension of disbelief, but it was a little bit weird for me because I thought she was way older than she probably was.
Not to mention, I mean, there's also the possibility, since this is several years after the event, that these kids, some of them might have been older anyway. I mean, Marlon may have been older than 18. I mean, he potentially could have been in his 20s. This many years on. Yeah. I don't know. It's really hard to say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not that that's really a detriment to the game. It's just something I had picked up on for me personally.
Fair enough. Yeah. Episode 3 really focuses on an attack/rescue mission that also deals with the concept of life after death, or at least zombie life after death, more than I can really ever recall the series touching on, if they ever even did discuss it. There's a character that's introduced that really centers around that concept. It also covers some of the most horrible, kind of unbelievable things. I guess you almost just have to play the episode out to understand what we're talking about if you haven't already. But some characters, I think, act well out beyond what they normally would have, and I found some of the things that happened, at least in my playthrough, a little unbelievable. But
yeah, it was beyond what you were expecting going into it. For me at least, I some of the things that happened or had happened, quote unquote, off screen, I couldn't have expected in my wildest sort of imagination of where it would have gone. Like, some of the brutality is ridiculous, even for a Walking Dead, where you see people get munched on by zombies all the time. People are the worst, aren't they?
Oh yeah. I guess this is one way to show how much difference the world has in it. There's people that are trying to survive, and there's people that try to survive at the expense of others.
Yeah, And it really shows how far everything has come from civilization, really. That is sort of, it's a means to an end rather than, something you would never consider.
Yeah, something that no one would ever consider acceptable is now okay.
It's normalized almost.
Yeah. It's also probably the beginning of where AJ's development really begins, and how he handles himself as the game moves on.
Yeah, it's got some of the hardest decisions with AJ because of other characters' ideals, and they present those ideals to you and sort of give reasoning behind it, and it makes you question things you've said to him. Like, I questioned many of my decisions up to this point because of some stuff that was said to me, and yeah, it just it really does. The way you shape AJ really is affected by everything you say, everything you do in regards to him will have an effect on him, and this episode really showed that, and it made some of your decision. The final decision, it took me probably 5 or 6 minutes trying to think of which option to choose, really.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the most difficult decisions in the entire game. I think episode 4 is probably the worst, but 3 had some of the hardest ones up until that point.
Yeah. And I also want to say that the pacing of everything up to this point works really well. Like, the game, it's not sort of jumping around between this action and then the really slow bits. It's building up to this moment, and it works, I think.
No, I completely agree.
Like, everything's building up to this second act climax moment. And then the finale.
Yeah. Although you'd kind of expect it to like wrap up the loose ends nicely, it takes you on a crazy emotional roller coaster before you get to that ending. And if you thought the decisions you made up until that point were difficult, what you have to do in 4 is nuts.
Yeah. And there are some things that are out of your hands with basically what you've gotten AJ to that point. So AJ will make will or won't make decisions depending on how you've treated him and spoken to him to that point. So it's in a way showing you that your choices did shape the game and did affect how the game played out without you having to interact with it at that point, which I thought was really effective. Also, there are some moments in there that are just crazy, really. Without spoiling anything, that whole bridge section was insane.
Probably one of the hardest spots for anybody going through that playthrough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Completely. So you sort of getting into the bridge section, and then you hear something, and it just. Again, we're trying to do this without spoiling anything, and I hope my computer didn't shut down, and I'll
we're good.
Edit it out. No, we're good. That's fine. Edit that out. You hear something and you realize, everything's about to go south, and panic stations set in, but it's done very well. It's executed well.
Oh, agree. I guess taking a look at the achievements in Telltale's The Walking Dead, the final season, there's 48 across the 4 episodes, so a reasonably good spread, pretty even. But here's where the things, as we said, differ from the original Telltale formula. There's more than just 1 or 2 missables per episode. In fact, it's pretty much like 3 or 4 story-based achievements, and then everything else is missable.
Yeah.
These achievements have to do with skill-based tasks as well as dialogue options that at sometimes even appear mundane. So if you're not using a guide, completely expect to make at least another run through each episode to mop up.
Yeah, definitely. There's, as we mentioned earlier, even these sort of minor decisions have an effect and will affect these achievements and stuff. And there's also collectibles that you need to pick up throughout the game and place them in your room or place them somewhere in the appropriate location, which sort of alludes to the change in gameplay, kind of. So there's still the cutscene pick a dialogue option moments, but the walking around is now over the shoulder. And so it's not the fixed camera sort of Resident Evil kind of, your camera just changes as you enter a new section. Everything's over the shoulder. There are some combat sections where that you're in that mode, and it can be there are signs that there are walkers around you, like the bottom right of the screen might have zombie effect so that you know that there's something there so you can turn around. But I think it does make it slightly more difficult. I know I died in many more of those sections than I would have in the original first 4 games, including Michonne, just because that camera angle made it more difficult to have a good view around you. But that could have been the idea. That could have been the point, that it makes it harder. It adds that sense of scariness, tension, I guess.
No, I agree. I agree. When they talk to this effect of the game at PAX years ago when Spaz and I were there, they mentioned how they wanted to give the player more control over their environment, so that instead of you just having this is the path, it's a QTE and push these buttons, you could choose, do I want to stun, do I want to kill, do I want to run away, and give that player an option. And they actually did pull that off, and that's, I think, why they went to the over the shoulder as opposed to just looking straight ahead. So instead of you kind of thinking this is my path, now it's I'm in control like I am, in any other, character, like first person, third person character game. Is I actually get to move myself around.
Yep. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Also, I've just remembered I ate and drank a lot of things I probably shouldn't have in that game. Every time it gave me an option, I'm like, yeah, sure.
But there are achievements for it, so there's a good reason to eat and drink everything.
Yeah. Graphics and sound. This looks much better than previous Telltale games. It still has that art style, but this is certainly an improvement, and the engine upgrade they talked about is visible. There is, I experienced almost no chugging or Telltale jank that you would sort of expect in previous titles.
Yeah, I had just a couple spots where I noticed, like at one point where there was a group of children walking in the distance and their clothing got changed into like the background forest texture. Whether that was the kind of the game just pushing them into the background or an actual bug, I don't know. And then at one point, one like thread on Clem's shirt was like pulsing blue. Outside of 2 little small things, I thought it was a pretty good game. I didn't have any of the normal smearing or textures or polygons like just stretching across the screen. And
yeah, and the sound design, as we spoke about before the recording, it's fantastic. Like the music works so well, and I think the sound is really good in this game. And I think normally I play with games on mute, and I wasn't going to for this one, and that it made a lot of difference.
Yeah, agree. I don't think they could have done anything different when it came to picking more apt music for the mood or just for the scenes, because there's so many times when you needed something that was kind of an uplifting sound, and they pulled it off perfect, or like the here we go again, and it's just like the crazy kind of ominous. Yeah, they did stellar job with this one.
Yeah, it is definitely a top tier title that they've put out. I mean, if we had, like, as we've said, none of the real problems were detriments or game breaking or would force you to not play the game. We did have a couple issues. I had some technical issues with the volume. Like I left everything at default, but there were some instances in the first episode with Marlon where he would talk and it would just be way quieter than the music or the ambient noise was. And luckily I had subtitles on and I knew what he said, but that's a minor bug that I assume was just on my end and isn't consistent. There were a couple little continuity issues, like there's a character named Minnie. I knew her full name without, and could have been said off screen or whatever, but I seemed to know her full name without ever being told it. And I mean, again, really minor, but sort of pulled me out of the immersion a little bit. There's also a couple little times where some of my dialogue didn't match up. So early on, you play a card game, and the card game, the winner of the game gets to ask a question. So obviously it's predetermined so that you get asked a certain number of questions and stuff. But some of my dialogue lines didn't match up. Like I spoke about Lee twice because questions came up. And the second time I introduced him again, like as if I'd never said that first line. So that kind of, again, really minor. And, there's 8 options. So there's, 4 options twice. So there's 16, 20 different ways you could have done that. So, really minor things, but there are a few little small issues that, when you've got a game this big with this many dialogue lines, it's going to happen at some point. You can't check everything.
Yeah, I had one small issue with continuity that I'm not sure if it was a bug or if it's due to a branching path that I didn't take, and also a bug, or what. I guess I really shouldn't explain too much about it because it's like crazy part of episode 3 spoilers. But
yeah, we'll talk about it in our next little 5 minutes after our verdict.
But yeah, suffice to say, I had something that happened that I really don't think should have happened.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we should tell them what we think. And for me, at $20, this is 100% worth it. I mentioned to you earlier, if they had made every game to this quality and, tweaked the release schedule so that it all was released at the one time, and I think still in the episodic format, because I think that works well, even though you're releasing it in one go, almost like Back to the Future did on the Xbox One and whatever else. I think they'd still be in business if they did that instead of the rehashing of titles that they did with your in episodes with big waits in between. If they had done this every time, they would still be in business.
No, completely agree. I mean, it's just a shame to be able to see this engine working this well. I mean, if they could have had this done earlier and pushed out some of their other games this quality, I think part of the reason that we had a suffering of quality was because of how many they were trying to do at a time. So, I mean, it's hard to say, but it's a shame that of what happened. But it is amazing to see that this did get finished and the quality that was there on this. I completely agree. $20 is more than well worth to pay to see Clem through to the end of the journey.
Yeah, and especially if you have played every Walking Dead up to this point, it's the payoff for everything is worth it.
No, completely agree. If you've gone this far, you got to have the closure.
To avoid spoilers, skip to the 1 hour and 27 minute mark. Thank you. Okay, and so that if you don't want spoilers, I'll insert a time here that you can skip to so you can avoid any spoilers, but we will briefly talk about some of the stuff that happens, I guess, if you're interested, and go from there. All right. So I don't think we'll ruin the ending, because I think that's something you need to experience, but everything up to that point, I think, is fair game.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, see, now I don't. Okay, in episode 1, there was a cot in the room with the food for the zombies.
Yes.
And, Clementine mentions there's no baby. So the understanding I got is they had a family, the baby or whatever died, got killed, and so they offed themselves. So that you were mentioning that the romance set the tone. I was thinking, the everything goes wrong set the tone for me. Seeing that no matter how good you may have it, everything will go wrong.
Well, I guess right along with that, I mean, I can't believe that the couple would toss a grenade there like that and just kind of set whoever opened that thing up to, either death or the zombie horde. That was just...
Yeah, I mean, I guess they assumed that whoever it was wouldn't have respected the note that they left. And
I did. I sent AJ through. So all was good.
Yeah, me too. I sacrificed my little boy, potentially. Yeah. No, but so then you get onto the school, you meet all the characters, you don't like some of the characters because some of them are really annoying. Then you go out and find food. You go hunting or fishing. You don't find much food. You go back to the train station where that zombie couple was and where the grenade went off because there was a bunch of food. And then a raider shows up. And there are a few ways you can deal with him. I attacked him.
Ooh.
I
gave him the food.
Which is... yeah, I attacked him, which is interesting because we had so many decisions, like identical, even just minor dialogue stuff, that it's funny that we have differing. Yep, so he ended up without his left arm later in the game.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he was completely intact for me.
He survived, but he didn't have that arm. You then get back to the school, talk about how you got all this food, but it was outside of the marked safe zone that the leader of the group had set out, and that you had seen someone.
Yeah, and now in retrospect, I know exactly why that safe zone was being pushed in further and further, was because I think they kept finding signs of those raiders, not for any reason of safety. It was more so they didn't have to tell the story of what really happened.
Yeah, so that no one else encountered them, and nothing came up. Essentially, everything was kept hush hush. But doing that freaks out, I guess. Would you consider Brody second in charge, or just the girlfriend of Marlon? Or
I don't know if she was second in charge or not. She did seem like she was definitely one of the, I don't know if you want to call it a council of sorts, advisors. Some of the people that Marlon did look to.
Yeah, but she freaks out a little bit. It causes an argument between the leader and herself, and that eventually leads to her death.
I'm not sure if that actually is a requirement or not. I didn't look through all the choices, but yeah, unfortunately, she died downstairs in my game too.
Yeah. Yeah, she just got hit in the head with a big torch, and then you get locked in, and immediately I turned around and went, okay, the body's not there anymore. But Clem didn't seem to notice until after she was being attacked. I was like, there's the bloodstain of where she was. She's not there, though, so...
Yeah, why Clem wasn't thinking at that moment, but I guess they wanted to build a little suspense, which is why they had Clem not notice immediately.
Yeah. So obviously, you're Clementine, you survive, you get out, you are confronted, you sort of confront the leader and the group, who are kind of... The group don't really know what's going on yet. The leader says that you have killed the girl, and there's then a confrontation between the two of you and sort of the group on the side. And I don't think this is avoidable either.
No, the confrontation happens regardless. You have to turn to one of the other, one of two people, Violet or Lewis, to decide who you're going to plead for help to. I ended up turning to Lewis because I felt he was the more reasonable fellow, although it was probably not a great choice given the fact that he was, Marlon's best friend and all, but it did work out for me, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I turned to Violet because I had complimented her combat ability earlier, and I guess in the questioning, she seemed to respond well to what I was saying and stuff. And in the dorm rooms that night, she came up to me. Oh, she came into the room to get some art supplies, and we spoke. I assume she did for you
we
as
did
well,
too.
or did Lewis? Yep, yeah, okay. So that, and then confrontation ends. You get the upper hand. At least in mine, I assume it's scripted that you get the upper hand. Things are going towards you, and then AJ gets the gun that was being used by the leader and puts a hole in his head.
Yeah, completely screwed over everything I had just arranged.
Yep, everything that was worked out, but the way it was done and the way he spoke, immediately, because what he says is the first. At least for me, I had told him earlier, when you've got the gun, never hesitate. And right at the end of the first episode, he killed him and then said, "I didn't hesitate." And I went, "Oh, okay, yep, that was my decision." Whether or not, I don't think you can affect whether he shoots him, but that makes it feel like you caused that.
He's scripted to say whatever you've instructed him is like the first thing to remember. So for me, he said always shoot in the head. Yeah. But that's the first point, I think, when you realize that your decisions and how you talk to AJ and what you do in front of him is going to actually change him. And although that bit is scripted, not all of them are.
No, yeah. Episode 2. Episode 2, essentially, you meet up with a character that you haven't seen in a while as the antagonist. That character being Lily from the first season of The Walking Dead, who you either left on the side of the road after she killed Doug or Carly, or she stole your RV and drove off as you were getting onto the train. She's brutal. Well, to put it mildly, she is harsh and blunt, and she seems to treat you well because she knew you before, or at least not as aggressively. But she then leads to the siege on your school. She's trying to kidnap people to fight in a war. What have I missed? I've missed something. Oh, before that, you meet up with James, who is a little bit weird, but he is
hold on.
Idealistic.
He's wearing a walker skin, and you just call him a little bit weird?
Look, I'm sure there have been stranger people, but yes, he's got a almost like a walker cosplay that he uses to walk through herds without being detected and lead them to places. He was a part of a group called the Whisperers, who would use walkers as a weapon and weaponize them and lead them to places where they would want to attack or whatever else. He didn't like that, so he left. He helps you out and helps AJ, who got shot. Mildly, really. I mean, there's buckshot to the stomach and there wasn't that many holes, so whilst it was a serious wound in the context of the game, that it didn't look as bad as it
Quick
probably
note on that.
was.
They kind of insinuate at one point when he's walking, when he's got this crazy pain in his stomach, but he doesn't say he was hungry. I almost thought there was a piece of buckshot they missed that you're going to have to go digging for at some point, but they never went back to that. So,
yeah, he mentioned that he felt like something was pinching him from the inside. Yeah. Anyway, you end up back at the school. You patch up AJ and you inform everyone that the raiders are coming. They want to kidnap you. We need to set up defenses, and then you do, essentially. You set up all your defenses to prepare for the siege. And then the siege happens. And I assume Mitch dying is
I believe
scripted.
so. Yeah, he did for me.
Yeah. So he dies, and his death is caused by another character who is reasonably pivotal to all the relationships really of future characters that you meet. A battle ensues. I don't think anyone else dies, but you know, there's fights, there's combats. You make a few decisions. It ends up with you choosing whether you want to save Violet or Lewis. We both chose to save Violet. Oh, I forgot about the romance. Oh well, there's a little bit of a romance option right before the siege, and you can either go with Lewis or Violet for that. You can be platonic or romantic. It doesn't really... It affects achievements, but I don't think it affects any future decisions, except you may have some options to kiss later with certain people.
People will
moments.
be visibly, like, you know, Violet or Lewis will be visibly more affectionate with you, and you'll have the kiss option if you do decide to go romantic. But I think that's one of those more cosmetic layers that they gave you that I thought was kind of a nice touch.
It adds that character, but it doesn't have a major effect on gameplay. You get to choose whether you save Lewis or Violet. The other person gets taken away with 2 other members of your group, and then you decide that you're going to rescue them. Then we move on to episode 3. Look, we're running a bit long, so I don't want to go into too much. You hatch out your plan to rescue them. You experience a moment with James, the Weird Walker Man, involving the afterlife and ideology surrounding that. You then siege on the... I'm trying to think if there's anything really major I'm missing outside of the siege. Oh, yeah, I am. I'm dumb. You meet Minerva, who is a character's sister, Tennessee's sister, who we assumed was dead and is not, and really seems to be a part of this new crew, and in the new crew, and just wholeheartedly a member of their crew.
Agreed.
And a lot of decisions surrounding that is whether you can try and convince her to come back. But then you do the siege, you are fighting, you somewhat fail and get captured. There's a couple moments. The brutal moment we alluded to earlier was because we both saved Violet. Lewis is a bit of a backchatter, has a bit of mouth on him, so his tongue was removed to discourage anyone else from backchatting.
Yeah.
So
they kind of tried to explain it with Lily giving a crazy over-the-top story of how her father dealt with lessons, but I thought that was one of those it wasn't necessary. And to go on with what I had, that was a bit of a continuity break. During that whole scene that's kind of ensuing right here, he's talking when he shouldn't have the ability to, which I thought that was odd.
Yeah. So then you escape, you go up to confront Lily, who has now taken AJ up to the dock, the
deck, yeah.
Top of the ship, deck, that's it. I knew it was a D word. The deck of the ship. Confrontation occurs, and your final decision is to whether you let AJ shoot Lily or not. She's lost the fight up to this point, essentially. She's saying she's given up, and then you need to make the decision of whether you let him shoot. You've sort of been pushed that, if AJ keeps killing, he will turn into something that you might not be able to come back from this, emotional scarring and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I spent about 6 minutes deciding whether he would pull the trigger or not.
Yeah. In the end, I had him not.
Yep, I did too, and that leads to the death of another character.
Which I believe is scripted.
Yeah. I imagine so. And that's then a bomb goes off in the lower decks of the ship, and that's where episode 3 ends. We won't go into episode 4 because I feel like you need to experience that. If you've made it this far,
if we start talking about 4, we'll spend a half hour just discussing 4 because there's literally that much that happens that you need to experience. So if you haven't played it yet, just go and play it.
Yeah. But yeah, geez, this is how we topped Spazpol and Alex for their Hello Neighbor review. Good stuff. I mean, 20 of it was spoilers, but whatever. If you've stuck with this far, then congratulations. You have played The Walking Dead final season. Most of it, 3/4.
The one thing I will say about 4 is that no matter what you have going into it, you have no idea what actually is going to happen. Everything you think is going to be different. It's like it's a full-on Game of Thrones take on it. It is different. Nothing is what you think is going to be. It's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. The expectations vanished, and things happened that I was like, still, why? Stop. Just let it go. Just stop.
Yeah. I mean, if you thought you had emotions before, if you thought you're like, wait, what? Yeah, just wait to get into 4.
And with that, we will send it back to the main cast of us and Alex. That was weird. All right. See you guys.
Peace.
All right, well, welcome back from that either very long or just regularly long review. We're going to go straight into...
What did you think of it, Alex?
As soon as you said spoilers, I had to abstain. I think I'll listen to the spoiler-free version after the show. But I'm looking forward to playing it. I still need to play Season 3, though. The Frontier? The New Frontier?
Yeah, New Frontier. Yeah. Right. Previously, I kept saying, no, you don't, no, you don't. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, no, you do. Yeah, so I was right. All right. Well, tell me what you've been playing this week.
So, I've been playing the final season of The Walking Dead. So we'll talk about that for a bit. And most of you have heard it in the review. Others of you skipped because you're like, 45-minute review. No. I can't stress enough how good this was. If you didn't listen to the review for whatever reason, this is a very good season. Most people who have heard the podcast a bit have heard how sort of cynical and pessimistic I was towards it, how I was expecting it to be sort of trope heavy and full of bad cliches and that sort of stuff that they had done in the past. I was 100% wrong. This game blew me away. It is my number one Telltale game now. It is the best Telltale game I've played. It's taken over the spot of Tales from the Borderlands. Mostly because it's, again, that culmination of 4 seasons of story of this Clementine arc. Without it, if it was sort of standalone, maybe not, but because it has that weight behind it, it's definitely the best Telltale game for me. The final episode of the Grand Tour game got released, Funeral for a Ford. It was a relatively short episode, but it was a good end to a really good $15 game. And it's honestly, this game's probably going to be in my top 10 games of the year by the end of the year. Just purely for the value that you get from it. What?
Yeah, it's good value. Good value. That's a big call, though.
Crazy value for $15. It's 14 episodes. They're probably about an hour long. It's 14 hours plus 8 or so. You get about 20 hours of content. And I guess if you were playing it back to back to back to back to back, it would get repetitive and boring. Because I was having it on that weekly dose, I wasn't getting overexposed to it. So my experience is probably going to be different to someone who will just binge the entire game now. But yeah, I pushed to try and be the first to complete it. I unfortunately did not make that. I did get second last time I checked, and I doubt anyone will be able to scan in before me at this point. So I think I'm pretty solidly in second for this title. And yeah, highly recommend this game. I've been keeping up with my dailies in Lies of Astaroth. So yesterday I hit the login for 30 days in a row achievement, which I don't know why I didn't do it when I started the game. For whatever reason, I never managed to get a string of 30. I'm almost at level 80 out of 100. I'm at about 295 unique cards out of the total of 400 for the achievement, but there's also one for hitting 300. So I'm chipping away at it slowly. Probably get it done this year.
So that login for 30 days, that's longer than the Roblox one for, correct. What, 20-day roll, I think it's called?
Yeah.
That's a lot, man.
The difference is this one has a server time that shows. So you can tell when...
so you know when the day finishes. Okay.
Yeah, which for you would have been like... with now that it's not daylight savings, I think it would have been about 4 o'clock in the afternoon is when it rolled over.
Oh, that's good then.
Yeah, reasonable time. I have just earlier, before we started recording, I dived the remaster of the Final Fantasy X. I haven't really gotten very far. I'm into the first sort of town of Besaid. I'm actually right now doing the trials, the Cloister of Trials, to meet up with the summoner, who we don't know who it is yet, because it's all mysterious and stuff. And I have a lot of days off coming up, so I expect to be done with the story before the recording of next podcast, and probably many more of the achievements by then. But at the detriment of everything else, because this is the only thing I'll play for foreseeable future till the end of April probably. And now my big one for the week, big in terms of hours played and emotions. Those of you who are in Discord already know what this game is and already know the story behind it. You know what's coming. Enter the Gungeon. Yep. Great game. Loved it. Probably put about 50 to 60 hours, if not a little bit more, since we last recorded. I got a lot of progress done. I unlocked the bulk of the achievements. In fact, I only have 4 achievements to go. I have to defeat 100 enemies with chandeliers, which you do in the first floor. I have to defeat 100 enemies whilst riding a minecart, which you grind out on the 3rd floor. I need to ace Winchester's game 3 times. So it's a target shooting game. You need to hit 4 out of 4 targets with 4 bullets. You run across this reasonably frequently as you're playing, but because I was doing rainbow runs where you get one chest at the start and none of the other chests can be opened, or they won't have any items, I didn't bother playing the game because I'd forgotten there was an achievement tied to it and I wasn't going to get a reward from it, so I figured there was no real point. And last achievement I have left is to complete all of Freyful's challenges, which are just basically hunting quests. Kill 200 of this enemy, kill 50 of this enemy, blah 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 blah, until you get to the end. So I was in the middle of a run. I looked at the clock and said, it was about 2 o'clock my time. I said I need to get into Lies of Astaroth to do my daily login and do the daily energy spend at least once a day. So I save my run. It backs you out to the main menu when you save your run. If you save in the middle, just launched Lies of Astaroth, did my daily, went back into Gungeon, and my save had got corrupted and wiped, and I've now been set back to the start and have to start over from scratch. I mean, none of the achievements I have left require a lot of progress. You just sort of a little bit, and then you can work on them. But just losing all the guns and items I've unlocked, and the characters I unlocked, and everything, even the progress through the challenges, I was probably halfway done, and I was getting to the grindy bit where the enemy might show up once per run, and you need to kill 20 of them or something. It was awful. It was a tough time for me. I'll probably go back to it next month after I've had my fill of Final Fantasy, but it was a tough loss for me. I mean, it was only about 80 hours of gameplay, so broad grand scheme of things, it wasn't a huge loss, but just loading back in and seeing I was at the start and there was literally nothing, and I just I nearly cried. So sad.
Is there any way you can get in touch with the developer? Because they should be able to see from, the server side of things what you've done. And give you anything back? I've heard of it happening in the past, not necessarily with this developer, but
possibly.
Do you think it's possible?
I mean, I'll try. I don't expect anything out of it. I assume they're still sort of working on it because they only just put out their last update for it before I assume they have a new project. So yeah, I can try, but I doubt anything will come from it, but I hadn't thought of that, so I'll send him a message, see what happens. I did earn 2,150 Gamerscore this week. I imagine that was probably like 10,000 TA though. A lot of the stuff I've been doing is pretty high ratio. But yeah, that was the ups and downs of my week. Oren, what have you been playing?
Oh, mishmash of good and bad. Let's start off with some bad. You talked about an on-rails racer called Scale X-Trick earlier. Well, I started and completed that. It is a horrible game. Every time you win a track, you actually have to force quit the thing and reload it, and I don't know why. At least Tracks isn't that bad.
No, they fixed that in Tracks, but yeah, you do that, and I have no idea why. Like, maybe I don't know if it's necessarily a win, maybe it's like unlocking the achievement soft locks it somehow. But yeah, luckily it doesn't.
I never actually re-raced something after getting the achievement, so I couldn't say. Yeah. But I do know on a loss, if you let it load out, you load back just fine. Yeah.
Luckily, the loading into the game doesn't take too long. It's pretty quick.
Yeah. Every now and again, you get an AI opponent that just, for some reason, doesn't fly off the track. And you kind of get a little bit like, whatever, okay. And so you lose that one, give it another shot. But, it's pretty easy.
How long did it take you? Did you finish it?
Yeah, I want to say it was like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's including load times as well, I guess.
Yes. I mean, that's including like literally quitting to the dashboard and reloading. Probably 10 at least out of the 12 levels.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy Gamerscore. It is not a great game. There is a course designer if for some reason you want to play with it, but there's no achievements, so unless you really want to do it. I played the Golf Club 2, which was added to Game Pass just about 3 days after I bought it for $7.50. Which I guess is, I should just know by now, don't buy things, because everything I buy always ends up either Game Pass or Games with Gold. But, hey, I should have learned my lesson. Now, this lesson cost me yet again. But anyways, the game itself is good. I'm not complaining. It's a vast improvement over the first game. and definitely nowhere near as easy. The achievements aren't all kind of cheesable like you could do on the custom-made courses last time. Now there's a lot more on regulation course, and even some crazy like online stuff. I'm gonna have to find some people to grind out, because no one really does the thing anymore. There's also an achievement to earn $1 million in the online, or sorry, not in the online, in the career modes, which is a really, really silly grind. So I'm sure I'll be working on that for the next year. Like Shin,
what is it with you just adding long ass grinds to your portfolio?
Oh god, I have another one I added on to as well. So I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of my life. It's like, why not torture myself just a little bit more every day?
Okay.
When you get something you can just chip away at, it doesn't feel like a long. I mean, it feels like a long grind, but when you're just chipping a little bit away at every day, you don't really notice it until then. All your dailies
it depends
become,
on what it is, you know. Yeah,
then you have 3 hours of daily stuff that you need to do to chip away at games.
Well, yeah.
All your stuff combined. Yeah.
If you think about how long it takes just to burn your energy and whatnot in Lies of Astaroth, and then, you know, do your couple logins in Instant War, because it's an instant grind. But so yeah, played some Instant War, because yet again, it's just, there's some really grindy achievements. Got to keep kind of getting the resources and building everything up. That's going to take a while. Yeah, like Shannon went back to Lies of Astaroth, got the achievement for composing 100 cards from scraps, which cost about 5 million gold. I focused first on the cards I didn't have, and then the cheap ones, so like the 200,000 gold ones.
Was that? Did you do that from scratch, or did you have progress in it already?
I had probably 20 already.
Okay.
So that's about 80 cards worth.
Yeah, I was expecting the cost to be a lot higher than that, so that's good.
Me too.
Did you get the resupply card from Gears of War while you were doing that?
The universal resupply card. 5 stars.
I did get some 5-star cards out of it. But
yeah,
majority of those were like the 4 stars, like some random 4 stars, and the 3-star universals.
Yep, I'm saving all that for after I get my 100 million gold.
Yep, I've got that, which is why I figured I'd burn it out. Yeah. Let's see, Neverwinter and Elite Dangerous, because, you know, those are those elite grinds I'm just keep playing and playing. The new grind that was added is Magic Duels, because there's a 500 daily challenges, and even though there's 3 challenges you can work on at a time, you only get 1 new one every day. So it's at 500 days minimum achievement.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay.
So, yeah, that's, if you put that one on your whiteboard, it's going to be there for a year and a half, if not more.
Oh, damn. And there's no way to track it, I hear, either.
Nope, no tracking. So either you count it on paper if you're like that good at keeping track of things, or just, you know, hope that it really does unlock when it's supposed to. I mean, as far as I can tell in the guides, no one's saying it's not unlocking properly. So, I mean, other than the fact there's no tracking, it seems to be okay. It's just a ridiculous amount of effort you have to put in. I had to even out my Gamerscore because I hit up 700,000. So I did a little Cloning Clyde and some Sonic Arcade, the original game, for some bizarre, you know, not divisible by 5 gamers achievements. Mm-hmm. Forza Street, because I had to see if it changed any, and as we discussed, it wasn't particularly impressive. However, to their credit, they did make getting new cars significantly easier, so increasing your garage level is actually nowhere near as difficult as it was, and they seem to have retained your progress in a way in the story mode, but wiped it all so that you can play it all again, which will give you that much more for resources and upgrades and that kind of stuff as you play through the game. Mm-hmm. Did some of the Walking Dead, the final season, the review, because of the aforementioned long review. Pumped BMX for a fast 70G because I needed to finish off the 170 I needed for the 700K. It was slightly amusing, 666 crash achievements, so I literally just spent, 6-7 minutes crashing over and over. It was fun. And then for the final achievement for the 700K was Firewatch. I thought it was slightly amusing, the Back to Work achievement, because like all this other stuff I'm doing, it's just a grind, it's work. So that's what Gamerscore has come to me. It's now a job. So for the week, ended up with 3,124 Gamerscore.
Wow, that's pretty good. All right, well, so as I said earlier in the show, I was away camping this week. I was fortunate that the campsite we go to has a Wi-Fi hub. So I brought my Xbox and my PC screen away with me because, got to play that Xbox. So I only went up to the Wi-Fi hub twice in the 5 or 6 days that we were there. But the thing is, it's such an odd thing. You're sitting there, everyone else is on their tablet or their phone, and they're all plugged into PowerPoints. I've got my Xbox and a PC screen there and a controller, and I'm the only one there. And people are walking past, so you get like old people walking past looking like, what's this all about? And you get young kids walking past, and they're like, oh wow, he's got his Xbox, that's so cool. And then because of the way I was facing with my back to the rest of the room. I'm pretty sure there was this kid that was sitting behind me and watching me play, which is fine because I was playing a stealth run of Deus Ex Mankind Divided. But I'd turn around and he'd be looking at me, and I'm like, okay. And I turn around like 5 minutes later and he's still looking at me. But actually one of the guys that worked there walked past and he was like, yeah, nice setup, mate. Anyway, so I finished the Deus Ex Mankind Divided campaign. I did get the Pacifist achievement. I did not get Foxiest of the Hounds achievement. So I guess, whoop, whoop, it's the sound of the police. Yeah, that's where I was at. So I can't say for sure it was related to jumping on the police car, but I also can't say for sure if it was not related to jumping on the police car. A couple of weeks ago when I was looking at the comments, because I remembered I jumped on a police car and kept going, some of the comments were saying they did jump on a police car and got the achievement, and some said they jumped on the police car and did not get the achievement. So it seems to be buggy at the best of times. The only way I could go back and get it would be to probably play another playthrough. I think, was it Clowntastic was suggesting another speed run through the game. Apparently it's about 6 hours to speed run the game. If I could be guaranteed that I would get it for doing that speed run, sure, I'd do it. I might do it, but I'm just, there's no guarantees. So I think what I will do is I'll move on to the Breach mode and the 2-story DLCs for now. I won't spoil the ending of the game, even though it did come out 3 years ago.
Good, because I haven't played it, and I'm really looking forward to that ending, especially getting the Foxes of Hounds achievement.
Yeah, okay. I hope you get it, mate. I do hope you get it if you play the game. I don't hope you don't get it.
Didn't get it. I just want to point out, I wasn't hoping that you didn't.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if you do play it, I hope you get it, because
it's frustrating when you don't. It really is.
It could be made so easy. You're a large developer. Is it Eidos?
Eidos Montreal.
Yeah, you're such a large studio. You could program in or code in somewhere going, even on the end screen, you're going, you tripped 1 alarms, or 2 alarms, or 7 alarms. Or when you trip an alarm, put a pop-up on the screen saying you've tripped an alarm. Just put it in there. But I had the same problem with Human Revolution. I didn't trigger any alarms. I actually didn't kill anyone through that playthrough, and I got neither the Pacifist or Foxiest of the Hounds achievement. So it's just, it should be a fun achievement, but it's made all the more frustrating because they can't get it together. Anyway, I'll be moving on for that one. Oh yeah, I was talking about the credits. So the credits, there's a little scene a few minutes in where a character is talking to the Illuminati, which is a overarching theme of the game, and I was just like, oh man, I can't believe you're in on it, and I was a bit salty about that. Anyway, it's a good fun game. I think you can have a lot of fun with it, and I think it was Neo Master was talking through the week about the marketing for the game being like org lives matter and, you know, mechanical apartheid and that kind of stuff. And I don't remember seeing any of that marketing, but it seems like it would get a response if they put out marketing like that at the time. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an E3 tease or reveal of the next game. So, anyway, it's been 3 years. They probably should get on it. Alright, now the other one, no one will be expecting this, but when I was away camping, it was like a country town, pretty much. They had a flyer up there, they had a little amazing race type of thing they were doing. So you go into the main strip of the town, the main part of town, and you go visit the landmarks, get the next clues, and go on to the next thing. And one of them was at this place called Arcadion, which I went on the first day, but I'll talk about that later. So you go to Arcadion, they give you a card. There was an Xbox One, and I'm like, I'll just grab that, I don't care what's on it. But the people in front of us grabbed it. Ooh. So I had to grab the PlayStation card. I know I'm a defector. But it was PlayStation VR, and I played Beat Saber. You heard of Beat Saber?
I have, yep.
So
I think I may own it.
Of course
it
you
might
do.
be something I bought.
So for those who haven't heard of Beat Saber, it's a VR game where you're holding the PlayStation Move remotes, and you have a blue lightsaber and a red one, and boxes fly towards you on the screen, and you have to slice them the correct way. It's a rhythm-based game like Guitar Hero. It's actually a really, really fun game. I think I was playing on normal. I got 193 out of 196 blocks, and I'm pretty sure I hit at least 2 of those. So anyway, but it's a lot of fun. In case anyone was wondering, in the Amazing Race, we came 6th out of 16 teams.
I agree.
It is, yes.
And I do.
But we came 6th out of... Oh, you're holding up your VR. Okay.
It's expensive, though. It's $31.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
it's
VR
well
games
worth
are
it.
so dear. Yeah, it's definitely.
But
that's a good game.
I was like, when is there a VR sale?
So when I was talking just then about on the first day going to the Arcadion shop, we hired out a Nintendo booth because my fiance used to play a fair bit of the original Nintendo when she was younger. So at the Nintendo booth, they had the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, GameCube, N64, Wii U, and the Switch. So you could choose whichever one you wanted.
Yeah, so you just played the Wii U, right?
Yeah, no, did not turn the Wii U on. We played some Mario Kart 64.
Uh-huh.
We played a couple of other games, but not worth mentioning. We spend the most of our time playing a co-op game called Zombies on the Super Nintendo. Now, I'd never heard of this game, but as anyone who listens to this podcast or ever has a conversation with me knows, I'm a big fan of zombie games. But it's like a co-op game where, a zombie apocalypse has happened, and you make your way around the neighbours' yards rescuing them from the zombies.
Oh, yeah. Zombies ate my neighbours. That's called.
No, I think it was just... Oh, well, on the cartridge it just said zombies. Maybe it was written small underneath it. I didn't really pay attention. All I saw was zombies. Maybe it was Zombies Ate My Neighbours. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a really tough game, I mean, as a lot of those early Nintendo games were. But obviously for Beat Saber and Zombies and Mario Kart 64, no Gamerscore. But I did earn 275 Gamerscore for the week, which, considering for most of the time I was in a place with no phone reception at all, it's pretty reasonable, I thought.
Yeah, that's fine. That's given your situation, I'll allow it.
Look, it wasn't 120 and it wasn't 0, so...
Have a look at the picture I sent in Discord.
Yeah, that's the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Is it Zombies Ate My Neighbours?
Yeah, Zombies Ate My Neighbours. Okay. It's a good game.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And it was, $7 per hour to play there. That's pretty reasonable. We played for 2 hours.
LucasArts made that.
They did, yes. I remember seeing that on the load-up of the game.
Konami published it.
Okay.
Weird. Feels like a weird combination of makers and publishers.
Yeah, seems like an odd mix.
Yeah, because Lucasfilm usually was a publisher.
Yeah.
Times were different back in those days. Well, what have we got in terms of sales this week? Seems like there's, from what I quickly glazed over it, not a whole lot.
No, there's nothing really. There's one title that we've determined is easy or quick, at least that we're not recommending ourselves. So, Outbreak: The Nightmare Chronicles is 50% off, $2.49. It's about 2 to 3 hours, probably a bit shorter if you can memorize the path that you need to take quickly. Because it then just becomes, okay, I'm going to enter this door, fire 3 shots, because that's exactly how many I need to kill this zombie, walk in, grab these items, walk out, next screen, 3 shots again, that sort of stuff. That's pretty much it. The spring sale is going on right now, and that's probably why this is such a bad sale, because, I mean, there's a lot of titles not necessarily on a great discount in the spring sale, but that would be why this sale has got very little to offer. And that's honestly, Outbreak: The Nightmare Chronicles is the only sort of worthwhile one on there in terms of quick stuff. I'm recommending Snake Pass for 50% off, $9.99. I've barely played it, but it's a very unique quote-unquote platformer where you are playing as a snake, and you have that snake physics where you need to coil around things and to be able to stretch and stuff, and it looks fun. The dive that I did was fun. It is very different though. It's takes a little bit to wrap your head around the controls and how things work. But I mean, given what was on offer, it was tough to find a recommendation for me, to be honest. Warren, what do you think people should buy?
Again, with not a whole lot there, I'm going to go with Fearful Symmetry: Cursed Prince, which, now that I'm thinking about it, I've probably recommended at least once before. It's 75% off for $2.49. It's also a play anywhere game, which is really helpful if you're kind of an on-the-go person. It's just one of those crazy little puzzlers where you approach a puzzle from 2 different angles. When you an action with one screen, and it does the equal and opposite reaction on the other screen, and you kind of make your way through a level. A fun little game, but
yeah, no, it's tough to find stuff in this hour, and that's a good point you made about Play Anywhere. Snake Pass is Play Anywhere too, apparently. So, even better, you can play it anywhere you want. Good work, Jen.
Hence the name. In terms of my recommendation, I've written here that I don't have one. If I was going to recommend one, it was going to either be Snake Pass or Fearful Symmetry and the Cursed Prince. So
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of there are some sort of middle of the table games there, but nothing spectacular that we'd be willing to say you should get this, really. So as for purchases, I think I'm the only one who's probably going to buy something. I'm like, even then, I'm just sort of buying it because I saw it and was it piqued my interest, and it's on a 67% sale. The Aquatic Adventure of the Last Human, $4.94. It's a Metroidvania of some description, so that's the only reason I'm interested in it. I haven't seen any gameplay or anything. I'm just like, oh, it's pretty cheap and it's a Metroidvania. I kind of like those games. I guess I'll probably buy it. That's generally my thought process when I buy games is, I think I might like this. Yeah, I'll get it. I'll see. That's all the research I need. No one else going to buy anything?
Nope.
Not that I can think of. I already own Fearful Symmetry.
Yeah, that was the other thing, is I own most of the stuff that's on sale. So, just new games to move on to then. On Wednesday, we have Snooker 19 coming out. Trouberbrook, which is like a mystery claymation point-and-click adventure game. Kind of set in, I think, 1960s Germany. So, I mean, seems to be a short completion, about 4 to 5 hours. Probably, I imagine there'll be a guide pretty soon for it. So, there's always that if the sales don't interest you. Revenant Saga, which I think is a sequel to Revenant Dogma, which is a Kemco title. So this is an old school JRPG style game, pixel graphics, probably turn-based combat. It's very classical JRPG. Thursday we have God's Trigger, which is a top-down co-op game. The gameplay looks similar to like Hotline Miami or LA Cops, where it's like a top-down sort of twin-stick shooter, but you've got to go through like the small bit I saw. They were in a house and they had to open a door and get someone's attention so that the person would walk over and they'd kill them quicker. And I assume they also have one hit to die, so if they just running guns blazing, they'll get gunned down. The co-op aspect could be interesting because they also got points for a synchronized kill where they killed 2 different people that, at the same time, and synchronized. English, great. So whether that plays into the achievements and stuff, we'll see. The list isn't live yet, but it'll probably come on the Thursday. The Anniversary Collection Arcade Classics Konami comes out Thursday as well. And I listed the games that are in here, and I know literally none of them, so I'm really hoping Warren knows at least one. Haunted Castle.
Yeah, didn't
Any
play
idea?
Haunted Castle.
No. You aware of it, though?
No.
No. Okay. Typhoon, and in brackets, Ajax. I assume
Fairly
maybe it had a
certain
different name.
That's a flight sim? I could totally be wrong.
Nemesis, and in brackets, Gradius, and that's why I thought it might be a different localization name. I think Gradius is I feel like I've heard of that. Gradius. Yeah.
I've never heard of any of these titles.
I've heard of Gradius. It's a horizontal shoot 'em up. Vulcan Venture, Gradius 2. Life Force, Salamander. Thundercross, Scramble, and Twinbee. So all those 8 titles are in this anniversary collection of classic arcade games from Konami, of which we obviously have played them all when we were in our youths, and
I think
remember
these
them
are all
fondly.
like arcade stand-up classics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, apparently Gradius was on the NES, so at best it's that old, or was ported to the NES. So at best that's probably the latest you would have experienced it. But yeah, they also, they've got later planned. I know they've got a Castlevania Classic Collection, and I think a Contra one as well that they're bringing out. So there's those to look forward to from the anniversary collection. Iron Snout also comes out on Thursday. That's a new Ratalaika game. Probably not a 4-minute completion like Super Weekend Mode was, but I assume reasonably quick for probably $5. So, always dependable, Ratalaika. On Tuesday, we have DLC for the Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's the first episode of the Fate of Atlantis sort of arc. Story arc. I think it's a 3-episode arc, so you'll get the first episode on Tuesday. And Mortal Kombat 11 comes out on Tuesday, and I didn't realize that was so soon. Or maybe it's just been a really long time, and it feels like it hasn't been a long time. I wasn't expecting Mortal Kombat 11 out for a while. At least another month, in my head. Yeah.
Maybe you're hoping with Final Fantasy there'd be a little more space.
Yeah. I'm not interested in Mortal Kombat 11, but
Yeah, okay.
I just, for whatever reason, thought it was not close to now. Don't know. I guess maybe I just heard the announcement late and just assumed, oh, they're announcing it now, therefore it won't be out for a while. Who knows? Anyway, that's everything new that we're aware of coming out this week. So, more me. Knobs and Discos. Your favorite game, Alex, Generation Zero. You remember that? Remember
yeah,
that?
which ones are unobtainable?
7 of them.
Yeah.
7.
I didn't realise there was that many, but I knew that there was going to be some. The
7.
reason I thought that is because I had a look at the achievement list, I reckon it was about 2 weeks ago. Maybe it was less than that. And there were just some achievements that you go, yeah, they're, given what I've seen, they should be unlocked, but no one has them. Yeah, so which ones?
I didn't write them down, but it ranges from killing 15 enemies with a weapon to completing this mission. So
yeah,
it's a range of reasonably easy looking achievements. The other thing is there's an issue with the achievement tracking. So a lot of the achievements I think are buggy as well. Anything that is tracked is also buggy, and progress may not increase for whatever reason. So there's that as well. Hopefully that gets patched pretty soon. And Dakar 18 has 2 unobtainable achievements. There was only 2, so I wrote these down. See, due diligence. Hat trick for winning 3 consecutive stages, and multi-hat trick for winning 3 consecutive stages in multiplayer with bots. So I don't know if that means bots filling out the lobby or only you and bots in a multiplayer game, in which case that's not multiplayer, that's single player. Yeah. I guess the point is that you can't just boost it, just have someone in and just drive and take as much time as you want. I guess that's the point, but weird.
I just had a quick click back through the developer for Generation Zero. It's developed by Avalanche Studios, who have made the Just Cause games, Mad Max Rage 2, and a game called Renegade Ops. I don't know what they were like in terms of... Yeah, I don't know what their kind of history is with unobtainable achievements, whether they've had them and patched them or whether they haven't had them before. But I'm hoping that when you have a development studio of this size, that there's hopefully a good chance for them to be patched.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I don't recall any unobtainables in like the Just Cause games or anything, but complete 25 world missions is unobtainable. Use explosives to destroy 15 machines. Listen to the messages left on 5 different answering machines. This is like really easy stuff that just hasn't been unlocked.
But you say if there's a tracker issue, that almost sounds like it's just not keeping track of those little instances.
Yeah, but then there's one-off things like complete the mission empty spaces.
Where, knows what's wrong.
Yeah, destroy a hunter with a single shot, which I assume is a tankier type of robot, I guess. That isn't easy to kill in one shot or whatever, but still, yeah, there are a few things that don't require tracking that are having issues as well. So
it's actually just kind of on a related but unrelated topic. I'm heading over to the Adult Gamer podcast. I'm recording with them tomorrow and talking about, I think our big topic is going to be talking about the day one release of games and how they're always patched and they never come out done, and just thoughts on that. That's actually the reason I didn't end up picking up Generation Zero. I mean, it was just before I was going away on holidays as well. But the big reason was when I looked at that list, I was like, I reckon some of these should definitely have been unlocked by now, and they haven't. So there must be something wrong with them. So I'll wait for them to patch it and fix it. And I'm kind of thinking the same thing with World War Z, which comes out. I mean, it'll be out by the time you're listening to this podcast, but I'm looking at that, and I think I said the same thing in our Discord, that looks like a game that could very easily have glitches in it, given how much is going to be happening on screen. So I think I don't want it to come out glitchy, but I feel like it's going to come out glitchy. And I'll wait for the beta testers, aka the day one adopters, to report all the issues and the developer to patch it for me.
Yep. So just taking a look at World War Z, there looks to be 3 achievements that haven't been unlocked. 4 achievements haven't been unlocked yet, but not ones you would expect on day one. Open and buy all perks in-game. Fair enough, that's probably a bit of a grind. Open and buy final versions of all weapons. Again, same deal. It's probably a bit of a grind to get to that point. Finishing all episodes on the hardest difficulty. Which, yep, fair enough. It's probably not going to be super simple to do that. And finishing 100 PvE games. Which just sounds like finishing 100 matches. 20 to 30 minutes for a match. So, about 33 to 50 hours for that achievement. So, yeah, probably not going to be unlocked in the first day.
Yeah, there's one guy that's got all the achievements except those 4, I think.
Yeah, and
the guy that's on the top of the leaderboard, or the girl that's on top of the leaderboard. I don't know.
Yeah, by the sounds of it, the weapons and difficulties and stuff will be earned well after your 100 games.
Yeah.
Anyway, milestones. I left it a mess for you. Have at it.
Alright. So, Tatey has reached 450,000 Gamerscore. Eliphalet 77, 400,000 True Achievement Score. NBA Kirkland has dunked 1,500 day win achievement streak. Keith 27, 11, 79, 12,000 achievements won. AZ Mongoose 500 games played. Enigma Gamer 77, 15,000 achievements won. ChinDocta, a 1.1 million True Achievement Score, as well as Mad Eye Pad Eye, both 1.1 million True Achievement Score. So that's pretty big milestone there. And another really big milestone, which Planting, of course, already mentioned, Planting 42, 700,000 gamer score. So there you go. Milestones done for the week. That's us pretty much done for the week, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
Milestones done, show done. All right,
Yes.
Goodbye. I'm going. See ya.
All right, mate. If you want to contact us by email, you can do so by sending it to hello@realgamerscore.com. You can send us stuff on Twitter @realgamerscore. You can also follow us there. That's great. Discord again, discord.io/realgamerscore. And Patreon is patreon.com/realgamerscore. You can write in questions to the show, and we'll answer them as soon as we can. And if you're interested in being on the show in the future, please let me know. Send a message to me on Discord, probably is the best place. That's Professor Pluto. You can find me in our Discord, obviously. Just maybe with a sample of your audio for 30 or 40 seconds and telling me what equipment you'll be using. Now, if you want to help out the podcast specifically, you can subscribe to us on iTunes and on other podcast platforms. You can leave us a review, which we'll read out on the show. You can tell your friends about us, retweet us on Twitter, and reply to us and say, hey, really love the show. And you can also subscribe to us on YouTube or join us on Patreon. Planting, if someone wanted to get in touch with you and say you have a really great voice, how would they do so?
I think the easiest would be if you stopped by, grabbed one of my messenger pigeons, and then headed out to your house, wrote something, and let it loose. Probably reach out to me on True Achievements, on Xbox, on Discord, or Twitter if you want to listen to me rant occasionally. Planting42 is my name everywhere.
All right, and Kirby, if someone wanted to reach out to you, where would they contact you?
They would find me on trueachievements.com, on Xbox Live, on Twitter, on the Discord, on Mixer, all of this at ChinDocta, ChinDocta. That's, yeah. I'll be very responsive and won't ignore your messages and forget about them. I'm sorry, McLovin. I think he sent me a message on Friday. I saw it on my phone. I think I was out. And I went, oh, yeah, I'll respond to that as soon as I get home. Earlier today, I went, oh, right, I need to respond to McLovin and send him his prize. I'm sorry, buddy. It's not you, it's me.
Alright, if someone wanted to get in touch with me, you can find me on Mixer, Xbox, True Achievements, and Twitter. It's Professor Pluto, and you can find me on Twitch, ProfessorPluto1. I am just about finished with Deus Ex, hopefully in the next week or two, so I'm going to start streaming all those new games that I've got to play. Alright, episode 37, done. we'll see you episode 38. Come back and join us. We'd appreciate it.
All right.
See you later.
See you next time.
Peace.
Bye.